All right. So, hey, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about some artwork for vinyl cutting today. I'm using Illustrator because I'm on a Mac. All the things I'm going to show and talk about today are just as doable on Corel Draw, if that's the software you choose to use. What we're going to do also with today, the stuff that I'm going to show will actually work with just about any cutter. So whether you have a professional level, Graph Tech, Roland, kind of thing, that's great. If you don't, you have a Silhouette or a Cricut, a Little Brother, all the techniques work with all those. So that's the good thing, right? So I guess with that, we can, let's go ahead and get started. So right now you can see I have Illustrator open, and I'm going to hide it for 1 second here. Whoops, I'm going to hide this too. And we're just going to talk about some artwork, right? So I'm going to show you this. And what this is, let's talk about regular clip art versus cuttable clip art, right? There's a big difference. So this is regular style clip art. If you look in here, you can see these little bitty thin lines and bits and pieces and that sort of thing, like all this stuff inside this little highlight. These little bitty things, there's no way to cut that and actually be able to weed it fast enough to make any money doing anything with. So what we need to do in that case is just do something a little bit different and simplify it, right? And, you know, sometimes when you look at this just in black and white form, I mean, immediately I kind of go, the other one was way cooler, right? Because it had more detail and it looked, you know, a little bit more zing to it. But the thing you need to think about is this particular image, or this particular, not really the image, this particular decorating technique is designed to show off the material, right? So you get the bling, the zing, the coolness factor from the material that you're cutting, which is cool because, you know, there's glitter flake and patterns and all kinds of shiny stuff, foils and, you know, all those sort of things, right? That really make the artwork pop. So if it looks a little bit on a simplified piece here, that's okay, because it's when you're finished, it's going to look a whole lot nicer. So the differences between this, you know, cuttable graphics and this regular clip art, I'm going to show you this. So these two pieces, these two graphics here, one on this side is standard clip art, right? It's a little bit more detailed than this cuttable one over here. But just to show you this cuttable one, let's see. This, when you weed it, right, it takes 6 minutes and 12 seconds to weed one of these images on the right. The one on the left took 1 minute and 18 seconds. So the techniques that I'm going to show you today is how to create 1 minute and 18 seconds worth of weeding versus 6 minutes plus. And when you add those together, if you do a dozen of these, the time frame is huge, right? So production friendliness, the artwork a little bit simpler, but still cool. And just remember, you get the bang from the materials that you're working with. So kind of keep that in mind as we go. So one of the things here, let's take a look. Let's go ahead and open up this guy. So a big tip in working with vinyl cutting is the cavities, right? And line thicknesses. So when you're working with this, and if you're cutting the material and the line weights are super, super thin, what happens is there's not enough meat, I guess is a good way to put it, to the image or to that part, and it wants to pull up off the carrier sheet. So when that happens, it causes all kind of havoc, right? You might have to try to line it up in place. If it pulls off, sometimes you can do that okay, sometimes you can't. So in order to avoid most of those things, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your artwork, as you're creating it, is ready to go. I don't know if you can hear that, by the way, but that sounds like my neighbor's cutting his grass right now where I'm having this thing going on. This is my home studio, by the way. Oh, you know what? My name's Dane Clement. I didn't even say that. See, I just jumped right into the good stuff. So my name is Dane Clement. I'm president of Great Dane Graphics. We're a group stall company. Should have did this in the beginning maybe, but kind of out of practice. I do this sort of thing for a living in my seminars and stuff. Haven't done one of those in a while for obvious reasons. So I'm a little slow. Okay, so here's a super high tech. This is MIT stuff I'm about to show you. So make sure you get your pads out, get your pens. This is like super duper complicated right here. So you had your Wheaties this morning. We're good. We're ready to roll. Watch this. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab my rounded rectangle. No, I'm going to go to the ellipse. That's what I want. Hold my shift key to make a circle. And I'm just going to make a little circle. And right now, look at the top of my screen. It's painted in white. I'm just going to go ahead and choose a different color. And I'm going to take the stroke completely off, right? No stroke on this guy. And what I want to do is I'm going to come over here to my size. And I want to make this guy 0.0625. All right. So what is that? That is 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to zoom in some more so you can see how small this guy is. So if you notice 1/16 of an inch, there's 16 of these guys within 1 linear inch, right? So I'm going to do another one. We're going to make another one right here next to it. I'll do the same thing. I drag it out. And this one, I'm going to make it 0.125, right? And what that is, that's 1/8 of an inch. So these are the two sizes that I would recommend you using depending on what you're going to do, right? So if you can do a regular t-shirt with some fashion film or something that's really good, kind of sticky to the carrier sheet and really easy to weed and those kinds of things, you want to go ahead and use the 1/16 of an inch one. If you're going to do something like glitter flake or a flock or really thick materials, or if you're going to go on a real thick garment, right? I'd recommend using 1/8 of an inch. You can also use 1/8 of an inch if you just want your regular graphic to weed fast and easy, because if you look at the size difference here, obviously if we do 1/16 of an inch type of deals, there's a whole lot more we got to consider, right? So I'm just going to use the 1/8 of an inch for right now and take a look at the size there. So that's 1/8. This is a full size graphic, probably about 10 inches. So what I want to do here is I'm going to grab this guy and we're going to walk it around the image, and we're going to look for things like this. Zooming in, I'm just zooming in. Quick keys things, right? So space bar, command key will let me zoom in. Space bar, command, and option key will let me zoom out. These are the type of things that will allow you to get faster the more of these shortcuts that you use. See the command plus, command minus, those kinds of things will let you zoom in and out really quickly. So the keyboard, if I hold my space bar, I get a little grabber hand so I can move it around in my window without having to zoom in and zoom out everywhere. Little things like that. Just try to learn those shortcuts. And what I mean by that is if you come over here, let's do a view, for instance. Looking at this panel, anything that you see on the right-hand side, these are shortcuts. So like I'm going to be doing this a lot, this outline. So I'm going to view my outline, right? So I'm going to do that. There's my outline. So it just takes it from the computer mode, from the finished look to literally my lines. And I can check these kind of things, right? So if you notice what that was, it was Command Y or Control Y on the PC. So I can do that, or I can just hit my keyboard to do the same thing. So I'm going to be doing that today, probably quite a bit, and just sort of getting around and kind of getting through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this guy now, and we're going to click and move it around my image, right? So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for spaces. So the space, the gap and the line thickness, right? I want to make sure this circle fits inside of it. And this was designed to use a 1/16 of an inch circle. So we can do that as well. But if you wanted to, right, to make it weed quick and easy, you want to make sure you do it this way. And let's find a spot that maybe this 1/8 of an inch won't fit. Right here. Okay. So if you look at this, I'm going to zoom in again. This circle extends past this eyebrow part right here. So I'm going to view my outlines. If I get my white picker tool, I can click here, and you see this node. If I grab that, whoops, I don't want to grab my circle node. So I'm going to move my circle out of the way here, and then just come back and grab that one node and just open it up. Just move it. And we just made an adjustment to it. If I go back to my preview here, and it fits inside now. Now, obviously, when it comes to a point, these kind of things, it's going to get bigger because it's a point, right? So you can drive yourself crazy if you try to think it's going to work all the way to the end of things, because it doesn't. But as long as it's not long, thin tapers, right? Really long and extended deals, you'll be fine. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a little while. So we'll just take this this little circle, make sure it fits inside the gap so it's not touching anything there. It's not touching anything here. You know, again, right here, it's bigger or larger than what our shape is. So I can come over here and click on this. So there's a node up at the top, then there's a node right here. So what I can do is if I grab these Bezier handles, I can make an adjustment to one of them to make it work, or even both, and kind of make an adjustment that way. So now it fits inside that shape pretty good. Same thing, I can take this circle and come in inside this gap, and this gap is obviously too tight, right? So I can make a judgment call, can zoom out a little bit. I can move this line, or I can move this line. I'm going to move this line because it's got a bigger, longer section. So I think it's more meat to stick on the material on the carrier. So if I do this and I come that way, grab my white picker tool, I like to just look at the outlines and do this. Just kind of pull back, make this one go this way, and you can even move it. Grab a node and kind of move it around however you want. So that right there looks pretty good. So you get the idea. Just literally take this little piece, really high tech, right? And just walk it around your image to see where it works. So, and that's it. So I'm going to zoom back out. So here's the deal. If we would have done this and went around, it's designed for the 16th of an inch. So this thing is ready to go. It is cutter friendly and stuff, right? So I'm going to go ahead to view here, and I'm going to view my rulers, right? Let's go ahead and show my rulers. So you can see my image is about 11, 12 inches or so. So my image is about 10, right? My document's bigger. What was that? I'm starting to get some feedback. That's fun. It's always exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and select this whole tiger guy, right? And I want to show you this. So if we make this thing and we make our adjustments and it works for a full-size shirt or whatever, but we have to do this on a hat or a left chest or something like that, something smaller. If we go ahead and shrink this guy, right, and just make him, let's just line him up here. So right now he's about 3 inches wide. So we can't just say, okay, now we can go ahead and run it, because it won't work. We have to make sure we come back in and make more adjustments to the art so it's cutter friendly. Now this one's going to require some substantial work. So you can see this is the 16th of an inch, right? The 0.0625 circle. So just about everything on here, most of the detail stuff is too small. So you do the same thing. I'm going to view my outlines. I'll get my white picker here, and I'm just going to make some adjustments like this to the art. So when you do, when you walk around, just make sure things fit. I'm not going to do it today because we don't have the time for it, but you get the idea, right? Just make sure that fits there. Make sure it fits in these gaps. You want to make adjustments to everything. Always grab your white picker tool. It allows you to move individual nodes without ungrouping everything. So literally just move that piece there, take a look at it, and it's ready to go. So there's a lot more to do. Not going to do it, but I hope you get the idea. It just has to be done properly. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting with this thing on the finish side, on the production side. And that's where this decorating technique, if you don't prepare the artwork properly in the beginning, you're in for just boatloads of time on the production side. It's very, very production heavy time-wise. So if you do it right, though, you can speed through a whole lot better. It does take some time, like everything. If you want to do it and do it right and the first time, that kind of thing, take a few extra minutes and get it optimized for the production method that you're using. All right, so let's see. My next thing is in here. So this would be cavities. Let's take a look here. This little cute guy. So can you imagine cutting this, right? Look at each of these are closed squares. So, man, I don't have the patience for it. Now, some people, you craft guys that want to do these kind of things and going to do one piece, maybe, not a problem. You spend an hour in weeding it. I mean, I see it happen all the time. I'm thinking that's one, I don't have the patience. But two, if you want to do multiples, you got to get it done a lot faster. So this one here would be the simplified cuttable version, right? So if you notice, all this stuff here is open, for instance. So I can grab this back pillow area and it's open to this piece, so that'll come out. It's open to the ears here. All this one piece comes out in one pull. Then I can grab this arm that is open, so that's going to peel away as we go from the carrier sheet. Then it will get inside his face here because everything is opened up. Now, it doesn't mean that depending on the material that we're using, it might not break right here. We have to just pick it out again as a second pull. But you get the idea that if we pick and we have elements that are open, we can literally move around and just weed this thing way faster because these pieces are open and simplified. So it works. It's still a lot of detail. I can see exactly what it is. But if this thing was a pattern, you know, or a material, you know, like a glitter flake or something like that, or even a flock, maybe in this instance, it looked like a nice velvety blanket or something, right? That's cool stuff. And that's where the bang comes. So just, you know, obviously try to remember that. Let's go ahead and open this and I'll show you how to adjust some cavity stuff when we can, right? So looking at this image, it's pretty simplified and it's designed to cut because I can see that everything is big and bold and pretty simple. But what we can do though is looking at this thing, I can say, all right, so if once I weed out the excess, right, all this stuff is opened around these light rays. That's cool. The inside of this light bulb is open as well. Here's a second shape, this one in the middle here, and then this little starburst is another shape. So we can probably open up at least a couple of these and make it one pull. If you look down here, this little metal screw part of the light bulb, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 picks, right? So we'd have to just pick and pull it 4 times. Not a lot. It's not a big deal. But I think we can make the artwork look even better and make it even simplified, even more simple right here. So when you have an instance like this and you want to make adjustments to it, I like to just grab the eraser tool and adjust the size. Now I'm actually hitting my left bracket key. And that left bracket key is making my brush size smaller, and the right bracket key will make it larger. So it just allows me to really quickly grab my eraser tool and kind of size it up for what we're doing. So what I want to do is I want to cut these guys right here and make them one unit. And I can do that like this. So I can do it. That's about the right size. And I'm actually going to pick one of the sides because watch what happens. When I hit this thing with the eraser tool, now it just turned those 4 things into one thing. And if I look at my outline here, right, you can see that I can grab from here and pull, and I pull it all out with one weed. So as the eraser erases or cuts through an object, it welds them or unites them and makes them into one object. So we're going to make some adjustments to this though, because there's a couple of things that will help speed the process as well. Let me just go ahead and do this piece as well. I'm going to turn this little interior portion into one piece also. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to click in here and kind of erase that. So now if I look at my outline tool, you'll see it there. So I'm going to grab my white picker tool, come over here. And what I want to do is I don't want my cutter to come around here, stop, turn here, and then get these little dog legs, right? Because what that's going to do, it's just going to, it's going to pull up. How many of you guys have ever cut something and you can't do a design without having a pick tool and an X-Acto knife in your hand? Like every single corner we come to, we got to hold it down and cut it with the X-Acto knife, right? That's happening 2 reasons. One is your blade's dull. So put a new blade in. I know they're expensive, but it's going to let you get it done faster if you have a nice, fresh, sharp blade. And number 2 is it's little bitty small bits and pieces like this that cutter's got to stop. And remember, that blade's got to pivot and then go in a different direction and then stop and then pivot and go another. So if you got a dull blade doing it and we're pivoting in little small areas, it's just mushing up the material. It's literally just going to push it, and we're not cutting it. We're just kind of turning on it and forcing it, right? So we can clean these things up a little bit, and it's going to help in that instance. So I'm going to come in here and click on it. Now, if you notice my pen tool over here, I'm going to go ahead and I got a delete anchor points. We have an add anchor points, that kind of thing. So I'm going to use the delete anchor point now, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to get rid of the points that are sticking out there. So now if I hold my command key down, right, I can click and drag this guy in. I could even just go ahead and delete this guy here, and it just swooshes right in. So let's do that. Get rid of these, right? So that's smooth transitions right there. We're gonna go in, and now we just have one pull. So this light bulb is going to come out. All this piece in the middle is going to come out in one shot. I'm going to leave this starburst part there because it is kind of its own element. So I think it looks pretty cool. And it's, again, there's still only 3 or 4 pulls in this entire piece. But right here, what I want to do, we cut this earlier with the eraser tool, I like to kind of clean it up. So if I come out this way, what I want to do is turning. Anytime you can round the corners a little bit, even a little bit, what happens is, remember that before that blade comes and it stops and it pivots and it's just pushing the materials around. If it comes to a point and it literally just turns, that blade, that cutter is just going to turn and cut and turn and cut. It's just going to move a whole lot smoother, and you're going to have less of that picking and cutting with the X-Acto knife type of thing. So I'm going to grab my white picker tool, and I'm going to select all these pieces. And you see these in Illustrator has this cool little tool here. So I'm just going to grab these little corner circles and pull them back. And what it did was it just rounds off those corners. So I'm gonna do like this, pull it back, and these pieces around. I can continue on. You can get it as, I can move this point, you know, if I wanted to, and really make it as soft and easy as possible, or just go ahead and, you know, round them off. It doesn't need to be big turns. It just, as long as it turns, it'll be good. Better than stopping and pivoting. So now I got, I pull my weed out, my excess around here, and I can do one pull inside of this piece, one pull inside of here, and a starburst. So literally 4 pulls, and we're at this guy's done. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Let's see what kind of time we got. Good. Y'all, I got to tell you, these webinar things, I've told my team, and they know this very well. These are not as nearly as cool as having people in front of me. I way rather my actual seminars. And God willing, we're going to go back to normal seminars, right? We're going to do this. Got to get back to normal seminars. I like to talk to people. I know I'm talking to people, but I don't see you people. So you people, I want to be able to see you. I can't see you. So bums me out. All right. So here's the deal. Long, thin points. We mentioned this earlier. See this guy right here, the shoulder on this lion? Super long, super thin. I mean, that taper goes on forever, right? So is this one. It comes out and it really extends quite a bit. So I'm going to key line it, right? Preview my outline there, zoom in. With my white picker tool, right? I can do this one point in here, so I can grab this guy and literally just open it up. And anytime you take that long, thin taper and you open it up like this, that gives you more meat on that carrier sheet. This is what's going to allow you to have production-friendly artwork. Long, skinny things, it's going to come up like spaghettis, and it's going to be a nightmare. You do like that, there's more material for that adhesive to stay on that carrier sheet, and it's going to be a whole lot less headaches to operate and work with. Same thing here. I'm gonna grab this Bezier handle and I'm gonna pull it down. And when you go and view my whole image, it didn't take away anything from my image. It works exactly the same and it still looks cool, but it's gonna be better. Now, I'm gonna round those points off because they're still, that blade's gotta come to that point and it literally has to stop and it's gotta turn all the way back around and go back the other direction. So if we do this, if I key line it, right? And I got my white picker tool and I click on here. See the little circle there? That's my corner circle adjuster thingy. I don't know what it's called technically, but so I'm going to click and drag like this. Now you see it there. It's moving and rounding off this point. Now, obviously, I don't want to go way over there. I just want to come in like this. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Grab that corner circle and just pull it in. So now when that blade comes around, it's just going to rotate and go. It's going to make it a whole lot faster. And we're going to do the same thing to the top of these points here. Now I can do it this way. I'm not gonna, but I want to show you. If you wanted to do it quickly and do multiples, if I hold my shift key, I can select each one of these end points, right? Even this one, let's say. If you notice, there's a little circle adjuster thing, the corner adjuster, all the way on all of them. So you could grab them and just turn it in a little bit, right? So doesn't hurt anything. Normally I wouldn't do them all at once, but that actually worked. Who knew? because being the fact that the top one here is shorter, right? And then all these down the back of the main are much longer. Normally, you might want to make those adjustments individually just for that fact alone. But that cutter is going to come here, make that turn and come in, and I could even round off the interior. So you can round off all these things just a bit and it won't affect your artwork look at all. But look up in here, for instance, I definitely would hit these two, right? For the same reason. You do like that and round them up, cuts a whole lot better, right? So maybe I went too far on this one, but you get the idea. It's going to make life way better in the back end. All right, so let's see what else we got. I can't see any questions, y'all. See, I can't do it. So, all right, so a couple things. This is one of my pet peeves, so pay attention. Make a note. This is what we're going to do. This is pretty cool. This, our words are part of our design, right? To me, these are tie things in, and it makes it look, like it was meant to be there. Because what I see an awful lot is just an image, right? With type above, type below. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and work on it. So for instance, there's one thing. Let me go ahead and make it black. I will grab my type tool and we're going to type in caps hour first. I'm going to size it up. I don't like that font. Let's do, I think the design we just did was alley oop. All right. So we're just going to make it fit, right? So I just enlarged it. What I want to do is I want it to go from these earpieces of the stethoscope to something like that. I kind of want it to just become part of the artwork. And you can make it as deep or whatever you want. I just wanted to touch like that. And because, watch, I'm going to show you this first. I'm going to grab this, this word, since it's sized up properly to what I'm looking for. I'm going to click it, hold my shift key, bring it down, hold my option key, the alt key to duplicate it in Illustrator. And now I can do our heroes, right? And I want to make it centered up. So normally I see this all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Boring, 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 boring. Yeah, it works. I got an image. I have my type, blah. Okay, big deal. But watch how easy it, this is going to take a little monkeying with some points, but this is that little extra 5-minute stuff. It's going to take me a little bit longer than 5 minutes, probably because I'm talking so much. But when you're at home doing this for your customer, make your artwork better. And you can spend a little bit of time on it, and then it looks like it's supposed to be there, right? So let's do it. I'll bring this guy down. I want it to overlap inside those earpieces. So I'll zoom in. And the first thing we have to do is our type is selected now. So I'm going to go ahead to my type up here, and I'm going to create outlines, right? So if I go back to my view and outline, I almost hit my shortcut again because that's what I do. But I view my outlines. There's my outlines. And now look, our word is laying right over the artwork. Well, if we went to cut this, we'd have a whole bunch of little bits and pieces down there, right? It would just like knife over everything, and it's not going to work. So we can fix that. So what I want to do though is I want to just take the O in this instance anyway, right? Get my white picker tool, by the way, click here. And what we want to do is we want to have the letters like kind of stop inside the space of that stethoscope earpiece. So if you look here, we actually have a node right in the middle of this outline. And if I do it like this, you see, so I have an outline to the drawing part of the earpiece is right here, right? And I just want to take the bottom corner of the O and just push it in and kind of make it follow inside. Then we can weld them together, unite them as Illustrator calls it, and join them, whatever. Lots of words you can use. All right, so I'm going to do this. So what we can do is just grab my white picker tool. So I have one here, and I have one in this area. I'm going to go ahead and maybe move it up just a little bit to get it inside that outline. And I'm going to move each of these points, right? So it looks terrible. Why would I do that? Because we're going to be one piece. So it comes in here and it goes up this direction. So now let's look over this. This little piece just goes right into it. It's going to disappear. It's going to work. And now all we got to do now is take the bottom part of this R and do the same thing. Just push it inside the outline of this guy. So I'm going to grab this end point and move it right here inside the outline. That's all we got to do, right? And I'm going to pull it out. So you see that it comes in here and it's inside and it comes back out. Now what that means is if I come here and I do this, right, I can grab my type, I can hold my shift key, and I'm going to click on my artwork, and with my Pathfinder tool, Corel usually has them sitting right there in the top. Theirs is called Weld. If I mouse over this is called Unite in Illustrator. So I'm going to click it, right? Doesn't look like much happened, but if you look at the keyline view now it's all set up to cut properly. So it's going to come around here and go right into my R, right? There is no more overlaps. There is no more slice overs and that kind of thing. It's down. Now it's designed to work like it's supposed to. So I'm going to like preview it. That looks pretty cool. So now all we got to do is the same thing down here and get this word tucked up underneath like we had it up in here. So let's do that. Let's come in here. I'm going to kind of go like this. I want to see part of this. Don't know what that piece is called. The one I listen to your heart, you know, the little silver part typically. I want it to come over the O, and I want the end of the heart to come into that R. So same thing. I'm going to convert this type to outlines and zoom in, see what I'm dealing with. I'm going to keyline my view, grab my white picker tool, and select my R here. And same thing. I want to take this guy and put it inside this shape right here. So right here is the bottom of my heart. Right, artwork. So I'm going to have to put a couple of points in here because there's not enough. So we go over to my pen tool. I'm going to click on add a point. We can add a point here. We can add a point in this direction and hold my command or control key and just bring it down into the shape here. I'm going to grab this one and go here, and that one's in. So right now the top of the R kind of goes into my outline here, down this way, and so on, right? Oops. So what I'm going to do now is let's grab the inside of the R shape and do the same thing. So I'm going to grab this corner and bring it down this way. Even though this corner is in, if I leave it there, you see this little piece is kind of overlapped, so it's not going to work. So I can bring it down some, just straight down. We're not changing it from down this shape down here, but we're just getting it inside that rounded piece, and that works. Same thing with my O. Let's go ahead and let's do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and get my delete anchor point. So any of these two and these two anchor points here are inside my shape. You can see my outline there, so that works. I'm just going to delete the anchor points that are above and in the way. And we'll do like this. All right, so now my O comes up, stays inside this black shape, and comes back down. Let's take a look at it. There you go. It looks cool, but it's not set up yet to cut, right? So I have to grab my heart shape, this in an image, and then hold my shift key and grab the text, and then now hit the Unite button or the Weld button in CorelDRAW, and there it is. So now if I take a look, right, and I zoom in, you can see that it's literally part of the art now. I'm going to go here and use my keyline thing, and now that's what I was looking for. One more thing we should do. So I'm going to come over here and look at my layers, right? So if I untwirl up all my layers, there's a lot of things here, right? So I can turn off individual bits and pieces. So these are all elements that are grouped together. And they're grouped together, one, because we hit the Unite button on some of these things and whatnot. But if we leave it like this, we can probably cut on the Rollins and the, you know, the other stuff, the graph text and stuff. But in order to have no issues with no matter what cutter you're dealing with, Rollins, graph text, Crickets, Silhouettes, Brothers, any of those kind of things, if you select everything and you come up here to Object, and I want to keep an eye on the Layers palette over here, by the way. You see all those bits and pieces. We're going to go to the Object menu, and we'll come down to Compound Path, and we're going to make a compound path. And when I do that, nothing changed. What did I do that for? Well, look at my layers now. There is no more twirlability, if that's a word. So there is nothing else but the art. It's all one piece. which means it's going to be able to be read and seen in a lot of the other software packages out there. So as you create your artwork, no matter what you're doing, do it this way and it'll run for whatever you got. So, all right, that's cool. Got one more cool image I want to get done while we're still here. And that would be this. It's Memorial Day, right? So it's kind of, I know it's a sad day, but we're going to do this design because it's cool. And I'm going to show you, it's super easy. These are, we made everything here just on the fly, right? This is all Illustrator, super easy stuff. And I think you'll get a kick out of the way we did this. So knowing that, I'm going to open this guy up. If you notice, I'm using Illustrator 2019 because Illustrator 2020 is glitchy, and so is Photoshop 2020. So if you're using either one of those and you're wondering why stuff ain't working right, it's because it's glitchy. So, so one of the things that get me now that you're paying for subscriptions and they think that they have to constantly update, so you get the latest and greatest. Well, they update so much they don't, and ain't fully cooked, and that bugs me to no end. So I'm gonna get off that soapbox, by the way. So. All right, I just set this stuff. It's just type, right? So if I click on this type, you can see this is watermelon script. This one here is Aiken bold, right? So no big deal. I just typed it to speed things up and literally just type, no big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my type menu here and create outlines because it needs to be artwork for us to work with. And come here. Now, if you wanted to, we can do this. I can hold my shift key and I can do this and hold my option key to duplicate it, right? And I can always leave that as a font because I do this pretty much every time I do something. That stays because if I'm in here and I take this guy and we're going to do create, let's see, I'm going to select it, go to type. Create outlines. It might help if I'm in the right menu, and do the same thing here. So right now, if that's the only one copy that I had of those two fonts, I can work it, save it, do it, get the production work, go to my cutter, whatever. Somebody says, "Hey, I like this design. Can you change Born in the USA to Memorial Day, whatever, right? Anything." Then I can say, sure, I can do that. And I open it up and I don't know about you guys, but my memory is not quite what it used to be. So I'm like, oh man, what was it? If that little guy is tucked away, even if it's completely, watch, like way off screen, you can make it go, way off screen where you can't even see it at this point. If you do those kinds of things, it's going to remember that that font is in this file, even though you didn't use it here. So it's going to say, oh, missing, or, you need this font turned on or that font turned. It's easy way to remember what you used inside of a job. All right, so let's do this. So if you remember, and I'm just going to kind of take one more peek at this for you guys. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to basically cut the USA in half, make it blue, put some stars, blah, 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 have fun with it. And this is what I'll do. So I'm going to click here, right? I just selected it. You can see that that's all one group, which is cool right now because I'm going to go grab my eraser tool. And I'm going to make, whoops, cancel, hit the right key, Dane. Right bracket key is going to make my brush size larger, right? Or left bracket, make it smaller. So I'm literally just going to kind of do this and do that and do this and make my own little wavy shape in there. That's pretty cool. And I'll do it again. Right? Looks like a flag waving. Watch this. Look at my key line pieces here, and it welded them, sealed them off as individual pieces, which is great because that's what I wanted it to do. So we just super quick cut some flag lines in there. Now what I need to do though is I need to grab this guy and we're going to ungroup it because I want to be able to select these individually, the top half, because the top piece is going to be blue, bottom piece is going to be red. So now they're separate, so I can actually work with those and make it that way. So if I view my outline here and select my text, take a look here. The way the font works, right? It just overlays one letter on top of the other. Well, if we left it like this, it's going to cut like this, and we're going to have slivers and overcuts everywhere. So don't want to do that. Want to make sure we select this guy, and we could, I'm just going to hold my shift key and select, did I make these groups? No. So I'm just going to select all these first, right? And then I'll select this with my shift key, holding all of them. And now come up to my Pathfinder and hit the little unite button. And now click off of it. So now this blue is all one element. So that's one piece of blue. I can select these guys here, and I can group all this together, and we can make it red, whatever we wanted to do. So I can take that and group it. I could do this as a group, this unite. It literally just groups them together. It doesn't do much else though. Oops. Or you can just use the object group piece of it. All right. This guy, pull up my swatches. Let's make it blue, because we're going to make some America stuff. I'm going to grab this. It grabs all of them because we made it that one big piece, and we'll make it red. Oops, I forgot one. So just so we know, I'm going to select both of them and group that as one piece, so I don't lose it next time. All right, so getting there. So now what we need to do is we just need to throw some white stars in here. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and grab a star, and let's make it white. And now I'm going to zoom in, because I just kind of want to dance these things around. And there is no rhyme or reason. Just sort of pull them out, twirl them around, get the look, size, and direction that you might want to go with, and go like that and let it go. Do the same thing. If I hold my Option key now, or the Alt key, I can pull from the center. So I can sort of start where I wanted to start and say, okay, start here, and do like that. I'm going to dance them around, because I want these to be fun, just sort of placed in there as random, whimsical looking things. Something like that, and one like this, and big one here, different one there. That's cool. Almost. So pull from the center, holding my Option key. Pull like that. And like this. Now, you can leave this little guy right here overlapping. That's okay, because once we join those pieces or unite them or whatever, it can just stop there. But I don't want to do that. So once you put it in place, if it's not perfect, you just grab it and move it around, right? And if I wanted to rotate, change that rotation, just move to the outside of that little shape, and you'll see the little arrow things here, corner arrows. I can click on it and turn it, the shape of it there. So maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller, like that. Move this one. I can do this to like forever. So we don't want to do that. So that looks pretty cool. So what we need to do is grab all the little stars and we group them together. So I'm going to select this one, hold this, click on one at a time this way. Or if you were into Illustrator's layers, which I ain't, because they drive me crazy. Watch this. I'm going to turn this eyeball off, and it's the next star. So I can come in here and I can click there. And I should have had my Shift key, because that's how it works. You hold the Shift key to keep selecting. So I can click here and then here, and I can do this, right? I'm just going to make sure that's my last one. So all these are stars. Holding my Shift key, I can just kind of do this, right? Just click all those, or just click on the stars themselves. I can go to Object, group those together if I wanted. So right now it looks like my image is finished. If I keyline it here, it's not, because what I want to do is I want to knock the white stars out of the blue, right? So we do that this way. We take this guy, all that stuff is here, right? So turn on and off this eyeball, right? And to look at it, it says group. All these stars are individual elements still inside of my layer, which is all grouped together. Not what I want. What I want is one piece of artwork. So with that selected, right, we're going to go to Object menu, Compound Path, Make. So now look, there's no more twirlabilities. I turn on that eyeball and it's just the artwork, right? Same thing here. I'm going to grab my blue and see where I'm at. So I'm going to come down to this group and I do like this. What we got? We got elements here. Don't want that. Object menu, Compound Path, Make. And then all those pieces are one unit now, right? The blue is. Now, same thing with the red, right? It's still a group. So let's go ahead and just Select that object, compound path, make, and there we go. Now we got individual bits and pieces. I can turn these top layers here are still my, whoops. Oh, did I miss? Oh, I must have missed something. So we're going to do this. We're going to grab the stars and the type and compound path those. That guy was by himself on a layer, hidden somewhere. All right, so I'm actually over time, peoples. So I've been rambling and going. So any questions? Hold on, how am I going to get to the questions? I can't see them. Somebody going to talk to me? So I hope you like this. This was kind of fun. It was pretty cool, and it looks interesting. The type is joined in with the other letters. It looks like a cohesive unit, like a nice designed thing, and super quick and easy to make, by the way.
All right. Hey, Dane, it's Deborah.
Hey.
I've got some questions that came in for you.
Okay.
Michael's asking, does compound path make work in CorelDRAW 2020?
Good question. I'm not sure. Here's a fun fact, though. You probably don't need it in CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW's weld tool works pretty well. It's been a while since I've actually played in it, and I don't have the newer version, so I don't know. But you probably find that when you just hit the weld button, you're good. Corel does a better job of Illustrator, and I should have probably pointed that out. For things like this, Illustrator will work. The compound path part of it is a little bit quirky. So just know, give it a shot, though, but I think you'll be fine.
All right, another question from Alan. So Dane, any tips for creating designs that are open so that you can weed with a minimum of pieces, thus shortening weeding time? Yeah,
so that's basically, if you think back to the beginning, hopefully you were there when we did the, what did we do? We showed pieces of of this here, regular clip art versus cuttable clip art, right? So you have to, if you're creating it, then automatically just go to create your piece here where these things are open. So the hat, for instance, if you notice, I can pull this hat and this is all one piece, right? And if you look at this other one, if I pull this hat, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 pieces just in the top part of the hat, and then a 9 for the rest, right? So you have to create it that way from the beginning. And if not, then if you remember number of cavities when we did this little light bulb guy, right? For instance, we joined these two by just erasing that center out, kind of made it highlight so it looked nice on the art. But it turned these 4 pulls into one, and it took these 2 pulls, right? This center piece and this outer piece, we erased this little piece right here, made it 1 pull. So those are the kind of things you have to do to speed that production.
All right, thanks, Dane. Another question. So any good tips when working with small fonts?
Yes, don't work with small fonts. So kind of like embroidery, right? The decorating technique that you're working with, it's not user-friendly for really small fonts. If there's no choice and you have to go smaller than you would like to go, couple things: using a thin material, something that has really good adhesive on the carrier sheet, like a fashion film or something like that, or one of the metallic foils, or anything that is got a good adhesive and it's a thin material, and put a new blade. Fresh blades will help, but that's about it, because when it comes down to small type, there's small cavities and that sort of thing, and thin serifs I would avoid. If you got to go, the smaller you have to go on the font wise, avoid a serifed font, because anything with little feet on it gets even smaller and more of a headache. So try to avoid those. If your customer is just absolutely adamant about doing it, then let them know it's not going to look good, because it won't. There's nothing you can do. You can do only so much in this technique as far as detail wise, but you can still have a killer looking piece following those simple little guidelines, right? No serifs and things. And it's the same thing with embroidery, right? The fonts get too small and the threads are sort of mushed together. So what an embroiderer might do is say, hey, we can take that 3 named or 4 names of that law firm and we can stack them maybe on 2 lines, so we can make it a little bit larger and put them on 2 lines. So that's another thing that you can think of as well.
Okay, great. Couple more questions. Frank's asking, what is a compound in Corel?
So I don't know that Corel has them. I don't remember using them. This is mostly a Illustrator deal. The compound, the weld tool in Corel Draw, you click it once and it kind of sort of does it, right? So if you grab all the elements at one time that you're going to have welded or united together in Corel, and you hit it at the same time, then those kind of become a compound path, and you should be fine. It's the compound path part is mainly in the Illustrator world, unfortunately.
Okay, another question that just came in is 45 versus 60-degree blades when cutting on a Roland, one better than another?
So the short answer is yes, depending on the materials, right? That's the key. So it's whatever you're cutting. There's a blade recommendation for that. So there's so many different materials. Just check with the Stahls book or the Stahls people. They know those kinds of things. I probably, if I'm remembering right, I use a 60-degree, I think, on everything. I'm not in production though, so I don't know if that's a smart move. I'm not sure, but I figure it gives me a little bit more blade face. So that's why I do it.
All right, our last question is, when do you come to Sweden? From Gosta Carlson.
Wait, I didn't hear the question, Deborah. You blipped out.
So Gosta Carlson wants to know, when do you come to Sweden?
Well, I've only been there once, and I was just flying through to somewhere else, but I would love to go, but I don't know when.
Okay, so that's it for the questions, and I did go ahead and launch your offer of the 20% off your artwork for vinyl cutting training books.
Awesome.
Anybody that's interested, they can click on those links.
Cool. Hey, thanks for joining me. I had a good time. This was fun stuff.